Welcome to Digital Asset News to get top
Okay.
stories in cryptocurrency digital assets and break it down to bite-sized pieces. Today, another episode of Trade the Chain. So we got Weston Nelson, Head of Business Development over at TTC. Welcome, Weston. Also got CJ from Market Rebellion, head of, or part of the head of technical analysis. He is our TA guy. And I'm just here, comedy relief apparently. So all it all works out is like this. We're going to find, through sentiment analysis, a top pick. That's going to be Weston's department. Once Weston picks it, it goes over to CJ, and he says if the TAs are good or not. Then I take a look at fundamental analysis, but we'll see how that all goes. So let's get this going, see if we can get out of here in under 10 minutes. Weston, what do you got?
Sweet. Thanks, Rob. You can see my screen?
I can see it.
Trade the Chain? Okay, perfect. So this, again, Trade the Chain is the dashboard for sentiment analytics and essentially tracking kind of the pulse of the markets before other people. And right now, we're in a very unusual market situation, but I would be picking Bitcoin.
Okay, tell us why.
So, couple of reasons. Well, Tesla, obviously,
Okay.
bought in. There's rumblings of other major corporations also following suit. And then we have an increased trading volume of the most traded asset pretty significantly.
Holy smokes. So how much is that? Plus 15, plus 16%? Okay.
You see, yeah, so this is kind of a different one than normal, where, I'd be looking at, 1 hour projected range or something like that. To me, I'm kind of throwing that out the window here. So that's why, you have to have a little more of a filter too, looking at it a macro perspective. But, we're only up 6% over the last 24 hours. So if we get another big push, this could easily hit 50, bust through the 50 resistance.
Gotcha. So just so everybody knows, let me take back control real quick. Let me share my screen. The things that we have looked at in the past are not big projects like that. Usually what we look at, we use sentiment analysis just to take a look at what's really going on. We've made picks here of Maker, Reserve RT, Synthetics, Loopring, and Orchid, not things that are like really high up. It's just that today, that is just what it falls into. And if that's what the data shows us and tells us, then that's the way we're going to go. Now, let's look at what CJ's got as far as the technicals, because, can we keep running up, seriously?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Especially due to the fact that we just broke above some critical resistance at around 45K. Now, okay. I want to draw your guys' attention to the 1 hour time frame, a little bit of a more micro time frame to start. But you can see we hit the sequential sell 9 on the 1 hour. And so that would make me hesitant to jump in a long trade right as that candle occurred. I was kind of expecting us to go down and touch this middle Keltner channel, because that's typically characteristic of where we find support in these bull markets and run-ups in the interim. So far, it seemed that this top Keltner channel has been sufficient to form as support on the 1 hour chart. And you can see we're already breaking out to almost new all-time highs when you judge it by the candle body close on the 1 hour time frame. So this is already hitting a breakout level for me, but just to be safe, I'd put it at the top of this TD sequential 9, the setup trend line right there, which equates to a price of 48,300 roughly. So I would wait for that as a trigger entry. But this is looking good. It's looking bullish. And then just something that I want to talk about, and I often talk about this a lot on Trade the Chain, is just a more weekly perspective of Bitcoin. And my thesis essentially has been, if we can remain and close this week above 45K, and that is the 3 days and 4 hours remaining, if we can close above 45K in that amount of time, I think it is very, very likely that we can see the next Fibonacci resistance level at approximately 62K in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think that's very doable. That would be approximately a 28% increase from our current point. But, I want to see us hit that breakout level for the entry trigger first before we do that. So looking good. I agree with Weston, and this is something
You like the charts? Okay.
Yeah.
So just to make sure, because that's probably gonna be the thumbnail. If we can stay above 45K till the end of this week, then we can maybe hit 62K within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 or 3, conservatively. But that's the key metric that I've been watching and talking about excessively.
Do me a favor.
And there's the unexpected bombshell that could be dropped at any point.
Which is, what do you think it is, Weston? What have we heard?
I mean, like a Tesla, coming out of nowhere. Saying,
oh, another Tesla? Another Tesla.
Yeah, not another Tesla, but another, company saying, hey, we have purchased $1 billion of Bitcoin.
You know what?
Very possible.
Yeah, there's 2 things. In today's video, there was a video I watched from Meet Kevin, and he talked about the tax implications. Meet Kevin. And he was talking about Bitcoin and why they did these things. And there was specific language because they're a corporation. And really what it came down to, I'll boil the whole 20-minute video down in like a couple sentences. All it comes down to is that they will win no matter if Bitcoin goes down or Bitcoin goes up. It is the ultimate hedge. And if other corporations don't see it like that, they're completely blind. So I'll let
they haven't watched the playbook.
It's funny because we've seen that today with Uber.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God.
Down about 3% after their executives announced that, we looked at Bitcoin, but we're not going to do anything with it. And so people sold their stock off. So we're already seeing it. It's pretty interesting.
That's crazy, right? It's the same thing. Like when Tesla bought it, their stock went up, 5%? And it was the same thing when Spotify hired Joe Rogan. They paid him $100 million, and they went up like 7-8% in like a day. So doing these things are smart. I see it like this. Oh, and there was one more thing. The last time we did this Trinity trading, there was a couple of feedbacks, and they said what they'd like to see is do a little bit of training, a little bit of teaching. So I'm going to start with CJ. I have a question. I know absolutely nothing about those charts. Show us what that was about, or just teach us one thing. We'll start there, because that one part where you said the sequential 9, I'm like, oh, what the hell that is.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fault of mine as well. I kind of go over that stuff a little bit too quickly. But this is the most valuable aspect that I use in trading, so I guess I will teach it to you guys. There was an individual named Tom DeMark who created the sequential indicator, and that's these numbers above the candlesticks that we're looking at. And so what determines whether or not a candlestick remains green or red is whether it closes above or below the candle 4 candles prior. So I know that might sound a little bit confusing, but let's count the candles together, right? So why is this a red 1? Well, if we go 4 candles prior, 1, 2, 3, 4, we can see that this red 1 candle closed below the green 6 candle. So there we experience something called a price flip to a red 1. And so that's a way we can sort of gauge momentum. And I think the greatest efficacy comes into the sequential indicator when you hit these TD sell 9s. So when you reach a 9, that means that we've had 9 consecutive candles that have closed above the candle 4 candles prior. And when we hit that, that's typically an indication that we're going to see a sell-off, or at least just a temporary take profit zone. And the same is true if we get a red 9. I don't have an example here for you off the top of my head, but that's the general thesis. And so this is a free indicator. You can find the code on the internet and available, but that's probably the most important aspect of the technical indicators I look at. So
I got you. So just because we said like
on what time frames?
Yeah, good question.
Well,
is most effective, because I know it works on really 1 hour.
It works on all time frames.
Yeah.
It works on all time frames. One thing I'll say as a generalization when we're looking at TA and what I like to look for, I like to look at a green number on the 1 hour, the 1 day, the 4 hour, and the weekly. If we get a unison and a confluence between green numbers on all of those time frames, it's a really bullish sign. Say we're on like green all over, but say on the 1 hour we're reaching a red 9 or a green 9, then I'll wait for the temporary reversal period to pass, then enter into whatever direction I was thinking about. For me, The 4-hour and the daily are my favorite, but like I said earlier, this indicator and pretty much any technical indicator can be used across all time frames.
Perfect. That's why last time we did Orchid, you said, let's wait for confirmation. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I just bought it. Gotcha.
You did end up getting a better deal a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Because of your bold decision.
Okay. And then Weston, you got one thing for us? Teach us one thing about
TTC. So if I can teach you one thing, basically data science, right? It's a field that emerged about 12 years ago or whenever. Big rise of big data. Natural language processing is a form of artificial intelligence that scrapes the web and determines the sentiment of the text. And by using that, you can quantify positive and negative things to accurately forecast, within a relevant range, price predictions. It's an incredible new tactic for using or evaluating potential investments or trades for a new asset class. So that's exactly what we're doing when we have these ranges. It's like, where do these come from? It's coming from the AI scraping the web and just spitting out data. So,
okay. All right.
It's pretty cool.
Perfect. So what we'll do here is I've already talked about Bitcoin and buying Bitcoin. I said I wouldn't buy anything over 30K because I think that there's some retracement to happen right there. However, we're talking about trading and swing trading and day trading, so there's a little bit different. So I will put in $50 a day. I will buy it on Voyager, and we'll see how we do. And then if it's not right, then I'll have to blame myself. That's how it comes down to.
There's a new motto when trading this market, Rob. Typically in Wall Street, you say buy low, sell high. In crypto, it's buy high, sell higher.
I like
that.
I like that.
With Bitcoin, yeah.
Perfect. All right, so we'll wrap it up here. I'll put it on there. And just as a reminder for you watching at home, there's going to be 2 links. One's going to talk about Trade the Chain underneath. If you want to take a look at that, there'll be a link in the description. Also, what CJ was talking about as far as TA and TA trading, there's also a link for that underneath, and I will link in the description as well. I will buy Bitcoin. It'll be, it is today. What is today? It is February 11th, 1:30. Yeah, 1:30 Mountain Time, 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern. So I will mark it on the spreadsheet that I showed you originally. That's also in the description, so you can track this trade. Hopefully CJ's right and we get to 62K. Hopefully. And we'll go.
I really hope so too.
All right, guys, that is it. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. If you like that video, give it a thumbs up. Also consider subscribing because, hey, everything's time sensitive, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks.